So, hello and welcome. My name is Judy Timmons, and I'm a member of Nonviolent Peace Force Midland Chapter, and I would like to take a moment to welcome all of you here today as we celebrate the United Nations International Day of Peace and a proclamation from the City Council recognizing today as City of Peace Day in the city of Midland. Without further ado, I invite Jeanne to come up. Peace, 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 peace. People, we were made for peace. Love each other as yourself. We are one. Peace, 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 peace. People, we were made for peace. Love each other as yourself. We are one. Thank you for coming tonight. She has such a beautiful voice. All right. So again, I'd like to invite Gail Hoffman up next. Again, she is also a member of Nonviolent Peace Force Midland Chapter, and she will discuss what we have been doing as a subcommittee since January, I believe. Yes, welcome.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight to help us celebrate the UN's International Day of Peace. So on this day of note, we're excited to share with you a community impact project. And that is, as you've heard, to have Midland become recognized as an international city of peace. We're not there yet, but we're certainly on our way. So how does this get accomplished? Well, we have this tremendous subcommittee, 4 of us, led by Jeanne Schaller and Judy Timmons and Kathy McCready and myself. And as Judy said, this work started very early in the spring. I guess it was winter, actually. It was January when we first got going. And although it's a partnership between Nonviolent Peace Force Midland Chapter and Midland Rotary, it's an initiative of Nonviolent Peace Force Midland Chapter. And it's going to be administered by NPMC. So a little bit more about it. How does this get accomplished, you might wonder? Well, it's independent citizens with an intent to help build a city of peace. By doing what? Well, by communicating and connecting with existing like-minded individuals, organizations, initiatives, through recognizing past achievements, encouraging current initiatives, and inspiring future generations for practical peace building. So you might wonder, well, so what tangible things have to be done? So the citizens are going to be involved. They're going to do lots of things, but how do you get going? Well, the first step was our proclamation. And it was our subcommittee, but we had a lot of help from community affairs, specifically Selena Tisdale, Maureen, and our city manager, Brad Kay. So it's just a week ago this past Monday, September 13th to be exact, that we were unanimously supported by City Council with our proclamation. It's something that does need to be, it's not like we just get to be a city of peace and sit still. Okay? We have to continue working toward, this is always going to be a work in progress. You never are going to be there. But as Maureen likes to say, who wouldn't want to be a city of peace We have lots of people who are interested in getting involved, which is a good thing. At this point, I'm going to read you the actual proclamation. And the print I have is a little bit bigger than what we were handed at City Council, so I'm going to go with a hard copy. It starts with a few whereases. So whereas the World Health Organization defines health as a balance of physical, mental, and social well-being, whereas peace is a condition where society has achieved a balance of prosperity, security, justice, and hope, and according to the World Health Organization, peace is necessary for everyone to achieve health. And whereas Midland aspires to be together, forward and bold, an exceptional place where everyone thrives, and whereas this ambition is achieved in collaboration with existing like-minded organizations and initiatives, including Nonviolent Peace Force Midland Chapter, Rotary, the We Hear You Coalition, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Initiative, the Cultural Awareness Coalition, Anti-Racist Midland, also known as ARM, the Midland Wellbeing Coalition, and the Midland Area Community Foundation's Violence Prevention Partnership. Whereas leaders and individuals across the Midland community are also committed to establishing peace in the region, promoting economic opportunity and improving the quality of life for citizens of our area. And whereas the United Nations annually designates September 21 as International Day of Peace to commemorate and strengthen the ideals of peace, both within and among all nations and peoples. Now, resolved that we, the Mayor, and City Council of the City of Midland, Michigan, do hereby proclaim September 21, 2021 as City of Peace Day in the City of Midland, and encourage citizens to foster positive expressions of peace, allowing humanity to flourish and providing avenues for more people to achieve their full potential. Okay, so that obviously was a big step for us, and we were just so excited when that all came together as it did just a little over a week ago. So in addition to that proclamation now, we can finish the actual application to become an International City of Peace. There's 5 criteria. The first step was a letter of intent, which we have had the individuals sign. That is done. We also had to determine what our vision, our mission, our values would be for Midland to become a city of peace. That piece is done. Now, we also need to combine, and this is a work in progress, NP is working hard at it, of getting photos and captions of local events that have taken place over the years. Jeanne has done her bio. Jeanne is our leader for this initiative. So the bio was done, the picture selected. Last I knew, the 2 just had to be put together. And the last of the 5 criteria is Midland's Peace Legacy, which we have drafted and we are set to go. So there's no formal approval process of any of those 5 criteria. We just get it together and done and submit it to International Cities of Peace. Another thing we're working on, understanding the importance of building connections, the importance of communication, is a document that is going to have a listing. We've already got it well underway with some of the initiatives you heard mentioned in the proclamation. But it's going to identify like-minded individuals, organizations, initiatives that want to be involved. So we'll have a contact person and that contact person's email. So that kind of overviews the subcommittee, its work, where we've been, where we've traveled, what we've achieved to date, and the good work that we are excited to continue doing. Thank you.
I now get the privilege of introducing our speakers for tonight. Our first speaker up will be Umbreen Jamil, who has been a resident of Midland since October of 2000. Born and raised in Akron, Ohio, she earned her BA from Kent State University, double majoring in economics and international relations. She and her husband have 4 beautiful children, and while her primary job is being the master caretaker of her family, she still finds time to be passionate about service in our community, and therefore spends quite a lot of time volunteering with various local organizations. She is an active member of the Islamic Center of Midland, volunteering her time in countless ways, from teaching Sunday school to arranging social events and open houses for the center. She also serves as the advisor for the Muslim Youth of Mid-Michigan, which is a Tri-City Muslim youth group that serves the community by volunteering at nursing homes, the Recycling Center, the Saginaw Children's Museum, Foster Closet, Midland Blooms, planting flowers along Eastman Avenue, the Shelter House Resale Shop, Post Office Food Drive, and many others. Through this group, she strives to instill her passion for community service with the Muslim young adults. As the co-director for the Midland Area Interfaith Friends, a group that serves to foster understanding among various faith groups in the area and give back to our community through various volunteer opportunities, Umbreen believes we need to look for commonalities instead of differences. She is blessed to be one of the founding members of the Midland County Foster Closet and finds great joy in serving the most vulnerable in our community. So welcome, Umbreen.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Judy. Good evening, friends. My deepest gratitude to the organizers of today's event. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share with you a few reflections on this International Day of Peace. Let me begin by greeting you with the traditional Muslim greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah be with you. 1.9 billion Muslims around the world on every continent use this greeting or a variation of it to greet each other. There are a few things I would like to talk about today. I'd like to begin by giving you a brief overview of Islam's stance on the importance of peace. And next, I'll spend a few minutes talking about the Midland Area Interfaith Friends Group. Let's begin by discussing what Islam says about peace. Certain media outlets would have you believe that Islam condones violence and is opposed to any sort of peaceful coexistence. Growing up in Akron, Ohio during the 80s, this false narrative was shared quite extensively. It became very routine for the word Muslim, an individual who adheres to the principles and teachings of Islam, to be synonymous with words such as terrorists and radicals. After 9/11, with the increase in Islamophobia, the rhetoric against Muslims became uglier and more inaccurate than previous years. You may be surprised to learn that the root of the word Islam is salama, which has several meanings, including surrender, obedience, and peace. Islam is, in essence, peace. Muslims are called to work towards establishing peace within and around themselves. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be on him, said, "A true believer is he from whom people's lives and wealth are safe." Not only are we commanded to live in peace, we are also commanded to make efforts to spread peace around us. In Islam, the sanctity of life is of utmost value. In our holy scripture, the Quran, God says, "He who kills a soul, unless it be in legal punishment for murder or for causing disorder and corruption on earth, will be as if he killed all of humankind. And he who saves a life will be as if he had saved the lives of all humankind." It's important to remember that for Muslims, peace is not just the absence of war. Establishing peace means creating a society around us that is just and equitable and that honors and preserves the dignity of all of God's creation. Allah says in the Quran, "O mankind, we created you from a single pair of a male and female, and made you into nations and tribes that yet you may come to know one another. Verily, the most honored among you in the sight of God is the most righteous of you." Muslims recognize that we live in a diverse world, and everyone deserves the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. As a Muslim, our religion weighs extremely heavily on the importance of service to others. Faith alone is not sufficient. While believing in God, His prophets, His books, and His angels is obligatory and the foundation of what it means to be a Muslim, these beliefs must be meshed together with practices. Faith must be brought into action. Our faith teaches us to love God's creation. One of the sayings of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be on him, is as follows: "None of you will believe until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. To love God is to love His creation." The Islamic Center of Midland has been an instrumental member of the Midland Area Interfaith Friends Group. When the group was established in January of 2016, it was meant to be an organization that brought together people of all faiths so that they could learn more about each other. Nancy Willanen and Debbie Ballard, the founders of the organization and both members of Blessed Sacrament, realized the importance of providing a platform where people of diverse faith backgrounds could come together and break bread. Research shows that ignorance leads to fear, which can lead to hatred, which can lead to violence. Midland Area Interfaith Friends was created in efforts to bridge the gap and bring us together. As we all know, together we are stronger. While the original objective of the interfaith group still holds true, the group has grown into so much more. It has strengthened what is a very important mission: to serve others. Initial service projects involved holding blood and bone marrow drives and volunteering at soup kitchens and resale shops. Bigger projects followed, such as developing the Midland County Foster Closet. And then finally, the dam failures in May of 2020 brought upon us the largest interfaith project thus far, the Sanford Rebuild Project. Multiple faith institutions stepped forward to offer money and time to help their neighbors in Sanford recover from the flood. While Midland Area Interfaith Friends and the Islamic Center of Midland spearheaded these efforts, they would have been non-existent had the various local faith institutions and their members not stepped forward to support the project. The Sanford project turned into something much bigger than any of the organizers ever imagined. What started out as helping families impacted by the flood by digging out their basements and distributing brown bag lunches to them quickly snowballed into so much more. As an interfaith community, we raised close to $120,000 in monetary donations along with several $1,000s worth of in-kind donations. Each dollar donated was spent on deserving families. As an interfaith community, we helped over 100 families. Perhaps one of our greatest achievements as an interfaith community was orchestrating the building and furnishing of a new home for a Sanford resident. Our current project, named Project Vernon Rebuild, was completed about a month ago. We were successful in raising approximately $55,000 in order to help a gentleman with cognitive disabilities and other health issues rebuild his home after the flood. Unfortunately, a day after the completion of the house, a strong storm caused a tree to fall on Vernon's home. It's been a heartbreaking setback, but I'm happy to report that insurance will cover the cost of the repairs needed on the house. The work actually began last week, and we hope to celebrate Vernon's homecoming in about a month. As I said earlier, peace is more than just the absence of war. Martin Luther King perhaps said it best: true peace is not merely the absence of war, it is the presence of justice. Whether it's working towards racial equality, or medical debt relief, or serving foster children, all of these actions are helping us create a more peaceful society, a society in which we value and respect and honor everyone. Let me close with another beautiful saying of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be on him. He said, "The best of people are those that bring most benefit to the rest of mankind." May we be of those people that work together in peace to bring benefit to our community. May we learn and grow from each other. May we work diligently together here in Midland to help those in need. May our beautiful Midland community become a shining example for other communities of what is possible if we join forces in love. Thank you.
Our next speaker is DeAndre Hogan, and he and his family moved to Midland in March 2021 after accepting a position to be Midland Public Schools' first Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. His work experience is centered around schools consistently working as a mentor, in a mentor capacity to students, and as a community liaison. As an equity and inclusion coordinator in Grand Rapids, he developed mentorship programs for students, coaching them to recognize their worth, practice professionalism, and take advantage of opportunities when they presented themselves. His time as a community school coordinator involved working directly with students and families to ensure needs were met, from food and clothes to mental health services. He is married to a wonderful Midland Public School 5th grade teacher, and they are proud parents to 2 amazing children and are happy to be here in Midland. Welcome, Andre.
Good evening. Thank you for extending the invitation for me to come and engage with you all and kind of update you on the work that MPS has committed to doing in regards to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm extra nervous after hearing them breathe. Did a great job. I'll just start with kind of the journey as me taking on this role and coming to Midland. This work didn't start when I got here. This process began, a couple years ago. Once, the culmination of several high-profile incidents involving race The school really began to look, or school district really began to look internally, and with help from local businesses and community influence, created opportunities for stakeholders to interact with the district and share their personal experience and what they felt, what they experienced walking or going to school here in NPS. And these are voices that I have felt marginalized, I felt disparaged in a number of ways, and these were students that had graduated, but found the courage to come back and let us know about their experiences in our schools. And so the school district began to unpack this, took this journey again, beginning a couple of years ago, to where the board, also then George Floyd, the events of George Floyd, the murder occurred, and it really kind of kicked into high gear the necessity of this work to be conducted, which spurred our school district, our Board of Education members to create a proclamation deeming and committing to the school district becoming an anti-racist school district, focusing on equity, focusing on inclusion, really to change the culture to where that disparaged treatment is not welcome. So we would change the culture to be more inclusive with equity at the forefront. So enter myself in mid to late January, stepping into a big role, having the privilege to kind of take the reins and not necessarily lead the work, but guide our district leadership and making sure they are continuing to be working to continue to build their capacity to engage in these difficult conversations, again, change our culture, build our capacity to make sure the experience that we heard a few years prior from our courageous students, making sure there's no room for that type of negative experiences to be had. And diversity, equity, inclusion does not just mean race. It means there's numerous dimensions of diversity that we can work together to celebrate, to engage with, to make sure that they are supported and ensure equitable outcomes for all of our populations that we serve in our school district. And since being with the school district, a few things that I've been able to work with our school district for. One is building our capacity to have tough conversations. Midland is a unique place, pretty homogeneous, and so our interactions with people that are look different than us are pretty seldom. And so what do we do about exposing our students and our kids to different dimensions of diversity? And so having conversations around that, what can we do, brainstorming. And again, I'm here to walk along on this journey with our staff, with our leadership, and with our wider community. And so that's been very interesting, very encouraging, and identifying the champions of the DEI work and empowering them to lead the work as well. And so that comes with information, kind of coaching, consulting continuously with our staff, and getting feedback from our students, from our parents, from our staff, and our various stakeholders. And that this leads us to equity audit that is currently being conducted on the school district. And what this entails is just an overview, is looking at our structure, systems, and resources, our culture and the community, what does racial equity look like in the educator workforce, and professional learning and personal growth. So Midland currently is conducting a deep dive into the qualitative and quantitative data provided by the district. Additionally, team members will explore the community context individually and collectively experienced by stakeholders through surveys and focus groups. And that's just one part of the equity audit survey or data. And the three major points that We are currently looking at our data and document review, which the bulk of that took place during the summer. Stakeholder engagement, which looks like surveys, focus groups, interviews, and analyzing that qualitative data. And that is kind of, I would say, step 2, which is what we're currently undergoing right now. So students, grades 5th through 12, have surveys. Every parent in the district received a survey. Instructional staff and non-instructional staff are also being surveyed. And so with that data, we're going to, or the equity audit team will be looking at trends, and from that, accompanied with focus groups and individual interviews later on in the process. By the end of the equity audit, we'll have a list of recommendations highlighting our strengths, highlighting areas of growth, and then from there it will be on us to prioritize and enact on the recommendations that we have provided from the equity audit team. The equity audit team is a third party personnel that we are contracting out with. Again, just to have fresh eyes and to provide a look at the district that folks in the district may not capture. So that was very important, and that process involved numerous stakeholders. I want to make sure that it was a transparent process. If this is something that's going to affect our various stakeholders, I wanted them involved as much as possible. So during the process of finding equity audit consulting group at different points, I was able to engage students, principals, teachers, and parents along the process to help us kind of fine-tune our list and what we were looking for. So very thankful for all those able to participate in that. And I'll share so far part of the data and document review. Again, I want to be transparent, so happy to share with what is that quantitative data, what is that qualitative data that was looked at. Superintendent communiques, seeing how we communicate, or what does our communication look like to the wider community. Board policies, meeting agendas, what policies and practices do we run our school district by? Are those equitable? Handbooks, strategies and plans, course guides, maps, and approved materials. The content that we are sharing with our students, is it representative of multiple dimensions of diversity? Does it provide a window to a group of folks that are different than myself? Does the content provide a mirror so that I see myself reflected in the content that we're learning about? So general budget and budgeting guidance, where are we putting our money? I think that indicates a lot what's important to us, so that's being analyzed as well. And professional learning plans, how are we developing our teachers, our future leaders throughout the district? Some of the data sets, achievement data, attendance, our demographics, discipline numbers, enrollment, graduation, post-secondary attendance, staffing, and student supports. This is all quantitative data that is being analyzed and assessed. And to learn more, so I do have a preliminary or intermediate report of the equity audit so far. So we looked at quantitative data, qualitative, and we're currently doing surveys right now. So I will be giving an update at the October school board meeting to talk about more information and more of the findings and what's next. And this process is planned to end around December, to where January we will again at a board meeting present findings to the public and again initiate our plan. And so with that, again with the building capacity, sharing the work, part of my task is creating a structure to where that can happen. Empowering the voices, empowering the teachers that show interest in this, to have a passion for it, making sure essentially lining them up to be able to take this work and move it forward, make it sustainable, not just an initiative or a fad to be forgotten about or just a wave to ride out. This is important to us. It's important work. We want to make it sustainable and ensure that all of our students, and we mean all of our students, to feel safe, feel like they belong, they feel welcomed, and they know that they can find success no matter what that looks like. So.
Once again, thank you, DeAndre. Our next speaker is Dr. Gina Wilson. She has served as a public school educator for 20 years. All of her years as a teacher, coordinator, and administrator have been spent working to mitigate effects of environmental and educational barriers for students historically and typically marginalized in the current public school environment. Most recently, Dr. Wilson has served as the principal and chief academic officer for a charter high school. While in that position, she helped create a trauma-informed program model to meet the social, emotional needs of students by blending restorative practices and mindfulness, allowing students to self-actualize in the classroom setting. So Dr. Wilson currently is a faculty member of the Department of Educational Leadership in the College of Education and Human Services at Central Michigan University, where she prepares current and future school administrators for the field of education. She earned her Doctor of Education degree in Educational Leadership from Central Michigan University in 2017, her Bachelor of Arts degree in Secondary Education in 1998, and Master of Education degree in Educational Leadership in 2001 were both earned at Saginaw Valley State University. Her research interest focuses on building adaptable and inclusive mindset and practices and self-efficacy in teachers and leaders. Community contribution is very important to Dr. Wilson, and she is currently the co-chair for Central Michigan University's College of Education and Human Services Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, the chair of the Midland Area Community Foundation's Cultural Awareness Coalition, a member of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council for Midland Public Schools, a board trustee for West Midland Family Center, a member of Midland's Wellbeing Task Force, a member of the Education Advisory Board for our Community Listens National Organization, and a member of the Michigan Department of Civil Rights Council for Government and Education on Equity and Inclusion. She and her husband, Dr. Jeanne Wilson, live in Midland with their 2 children and 2 dogs. And I'd like you to welcome Dr. Gina Wilson.
Very cringeworthy bio. It's my academic bio. Because, and yes, that's me too. But tonight I'm here just as a neighbor of y'all's who wants to talk a little bit about my community contribution as it relates to the Cultural Awareness Coalition. So, I was like, oh, you sound so self-important in that bio. But it does root where my contribution comes from in Midland. So I am currently the chair of the Midland Cultural Awareness Coalition, which is an initiative of the Midland Area Community Foundation. I've been a member of that organization since 2014 and the chair since 2017, I believe. No one counts on that coalition. It's a volunteer organization and it's really heads down, boots on, moving forward. So we rarely keep track of how many years we've been of service. I'm going to tell you a little bit of history about the coalition and show and just demonstrate how we've ebbed and flowed with the needs of our society, and then talk a little bit about our philosophy as a coalition, and also to talk about some of the grand initiatives that we have going on that we give to the community on an annual basis. So the coalition has been around for over 20 years. It was started as a festival to bring awareness and exposure to different cultures. As Dow became more diverse from an ethnic standpoint and a cultural standpoint, they felt there needed to be some kind of exposure to the town of Midland, which is, again, very homogeneous, still very homogeneous, but maybe so that there could be an appreciation for the diversity. And you've heard that said a lot, diversity, equity, inclusion, and one of the things that I always say about diversity is that diversity just is. We can't construct it. There's multiple dimensions of diversity, where we come from, how we've grown up, whether we've had trauma, whether we've not had trauma, what color our hair is, what our favorite genre of book is. Like, diversity is just, we're all diverse. This is a diverse experience depending on what we're looking at, what lens we're looking at it through. Where the work of the coalition and all these other organizations, what the work is about deciding what you're going to do about diversity. Are you going to value it? Are you going to fear it? Are you going to, use it as a divide and conquer? Are you going to create a hierarchy out of it? Are you going to get curious about it? Are you going to learn? Are you going to lean in? Are you going to dialogue? Are you going to include it? Right? Are you going to ensure that there isn't a hierarchy? Right? Are you going to attend to the biases around it? And that's what all of this work is about. It's about deciding the actionables around different and around diversity. So for many, many years, the work of the coalition, always volunteer, still volunteer, was around exposure or educational-based activities, just to get people comfortable with different, right? To learn about different in fun and engaging ways. And we had 4 standard activities that we gave to the community on an annual basis. And Randy's nodding because she's a part of those original 4. So we were at River Days, where you may have seen our booth, where we would do culturally oriented activities for children. We sponsored a stage with diverse performers, and that was one of our main events that we rallied around. Another activity we did was, again, around children, centered around education and exposure, which had to do with Kids Day at the Mall. So we put a booth up again, did some activities, we've read books, we've sang songs, we've done crafts, color pages, marked on a map, anything and everything to expose and to engage in and to encourage curiosity and that and challenge children to how are we going to value diversity, right? Get curious about it. There's learning here. The third activity we did was our biggest activity was the Cultural Awareness Month, where we would sponsor a month of planned activities, and we would highlight, again, differences as an opportunity, diversity as an opportunity to value and to learn and grow as a community. And within that was our 4th and final activity, which was the creativity contest. And I would actually have to say that it was the creativity contest that really kind of started us feeling not uncomfortable, but like, is this all there is? Like, is this really all we're doing? Is this enough? Because we always created a theme. Sometimes one of our themes was even peace. One time it was about migration, home, and belonging. And I think that was the one that kind of was like, oh, it hit us in the heart, in the guts, because it was students, children, sharing their voices about how they didn't belong. And as an educator, that hurts. Because Midland was their home, and they didn't feel they belonged. So that, along with the mayor's task force, she brought a force with her. We were about 7 strong on the coalition at that time, and the mayor brought in, I think, 15 to 20 people who were mobilized around the same work. So we combined forces. We went from being a committee to a coalition, and we organized. got very organized, and we decided that we were all about collaboration and convening and expanding, still with the same intent of creating opportunities to lean in and learn around diversity, but in a very more robust and intentional manner. So I would have to say that it was our subcommittee structure, and that there was two things that changed the trajectory of our work. One was we created an open invitation to be on the coalition. You didn't have to belong to an organization. You did not have to be a part of a certain church. We didn't hold seats for anyone. We didn't tap people on the shoulder and say, we really want you here, although we do that, but it wasn't intentional that way. We said, if you have a heart around equity, inclusion, or justice, and about wanting to help us realize our vision, which is Midland, an inclusive community, if you have heart and energy and efforts around that, come and be on our coalition, and we'll find some place for you to contribute. So in order to do that, we needed to create a more robust programming calendar, and we did that through collaboration. So now, it's a pretty organic process, although it's very organized. And I'll talk to you about our process because then it kind of explains now all of the activities that we, and not necessarily own as a coalition, but we support, we encourage, and we put our network behind. So in November, we have an all call from all of our members or not of what they would like to see done in the next calendar year. What kind of activities, what books should we read, what learning should we do, where is the need for us to give to our community around equity, inclusion, justice, anti-racism, decoloniality, whatever you want to call it, around valuing different, right, in an actual way, valuing diversity in an actual way. And then we bring all those forward, and then in December, we kind of prioritize or we calibrate to say, oh, this one's similar to that, and this one's similar to that. And what we also do is say, oh, this organization already does these types of book clubs, let's partner with them. Let's not duplicate, right? Let's combine efforts, mobilize it. And then everybody signs up for a committee where they have energy, where they have efforts, where they have heart, where they have passion, where they have advocacy. Because many of our members of the coalition come kind of bearing an advocacy banner. When I came onto the coalition, I was the principal of Windover High School. So my advocacy banner was around destigmatizing trauma, was around destigmatizing poverty, right? It was around amplifying voices of that invisible, impoverished population we have in Midland. So that was my banner that I held high, and I always stepped in for them. Now, I kind of advocate for all, but I'm getting ready to step off as a chair this year, and my new banner will be disabilities, because my daughter is disabled, so I got to take up her banner, when I sit in the coalition. So we all kind of have those banners, and that subcommittee process allows you to bring your heart advocacy to the front and center, and for people to mobilize around to get that work done and to get the programming out to the community. So everybody signs up for the work, and there is some work that it was a great idea, it was a great program, but maybe no one signed up for it. And that's okay. We just keep a long list, and we keep introducing it at every monthly meeting in case someone new has come on the coalition that maybe does have energy around it, and then we mobilize it. And again, these are volunteers. Most of these initiatives do not have a budget. It is done with free time, free effort, and a lot of donations of time and talents and whatever else the community will give to us. Space, books, but this is one of the most generous communities. And I have yet to have made an ask whether it was as a principal of Windover or as the chair of the coalition, that didn't get answered usually within 48 hours. Midland is that exceptional and that generous.
People, we were made for peace. Love each other as yourself, for we are one. Peace, peace.